Hello everyone, a very good afternoon. I welcome you all to the React Next 2023 virtual meetup. So, a brief introduction about myself. I am a software engineer working at GeekyAnts, and I would be the keynote speaker and I would be setting the theme for this meetup. So, let's get started. So, what's new in Next? First of all, let me tell you all about what is Next. Next is an open source web development framework created by Vercel, enabling React based web applications with server side rendering and static site generation capabilities. Cool, isn't it? So, the latest Next.js version is 13.2.0 and it has various new features that is introduced with it. So, let's look into it one by one. So, the first one is built-in SEO support. Next.js was built from ground up to allow for search engine optimization. Providing pre-rendered HTML information enhances not just search engine indexing, but also the efficiency of our applications. While Next has long provided simple API for updating metadata in our application, now SEO using App Router is completely revamped. The new metadata API allows us to create metadata with explicit metadata settings in any server component layout. And this API is simple, composable, and designed to be compatible with streaming server rendering. Uh, so we have our next feature, that is route handlers. API routes usually reside in API directory in pages. It was one of the missing elements from the first beta version of the app router that was introduced. Thus, we now have a new, more modern version of API routers that is thoroughly integrated with the new app routing system. Using web request and response APIs, we may define custom request handlers for specific routes with route handlers. Route handlers, in general, offer an isomorphic API that allows us to smoothly handle Edge and Node.js runtimes, including support for streaming responses. Uh, Route handlers also allow long-awaited features like general-purpose static rendering, revalidation, and this is only possible because they utilize the same route segment settings as page and layout. Route handlers also have additional server operations, which can be utilized in any web APIs that are abstraction based. This enables us with throughout server components and handlers. So the next we have is MDX for server components. So you guys might be wondering what this MDX is, right? So MDX is a markdown superset that allows us to write JSX right into our markdown files. It is an effective method of incorporating dynamic interaction and embedding React components into our content. With the latest 13.2 version, we can now utilize MDX fully with our React server components, which means less client-side JavaScript, quicker page loads, and while preserving React strong templating dynamic UI features. And moreover, we can add this MDX according to our requirements. This is not a compulsion or anything. We can just use it as and when required. So the next we have here, 1 second, right. So the next we have here is our Rust MDX parser. So when the development community came up with React Next 13.2, they also thought about performance enhancement. So they wrote this MDX parser in Rust to increase the speed as a part of allowing MDX for server components. This is a significant improvement over the prior JavaScript based parser, which had noticeable slowdowns when it was dealing with this large number of MDX files. Right, guys? So the next we have improved error overlays. We all know how hard it is to debug those errors, which provide no explanation so forth. So including in the number of modification that has been made with the new next version, there were also modification improvements to improve the overall readability and debuggability of the issues. Next.js and React stack traces were now separated in 13.2, making it easier to pinpoint the exact source of problem. Furthermore, an error overlay now shows the current version of Next.js that will help us to determine whether our version is up to date or not. They have also made many improvements, including React hydration failures, error reporting, and making them more readable and debuggable. This is cool, isn't it, guys? Um, okay. So when we talk about a new feature or new version, we always think about what is the future of this, right? Our next developers also thought about the same. So they introduced some of the features that are still in the beta and alpha phases. So should we go and learn about them? Right. So one of our features that is still in beta phase is the statically typed links. So Next.js can theoretically now statically type links in app directory to avoid typos and other issues when using the next link, which improves type safety while browsing between the pages. What is amazing about it is this function necessitates the use of new app router as well as our old and famous TypeScript. This functionality is presently in beta testing. So the rewrites and redirects aren't currently supported with this version, but in future we may see all of it. So the next feature we have with us is the Turbo Pack improvements. We all know how Turbo Pack came with React 18 and shook the world. So when Turbo Pack was launched in alpha stage alongside Next 13, our Next.js developers thought, why not include it in Next also? So Turbo Pack is an incremental bundler aimed to speed up both local development and future production builds. As we go near the beta release, the team have been concentrating on supporting current Next.js capabilities in TurboPack and increasing the overall stability of our applications, which include various updates like support for Next Dynamic, support for rewrites, redirects, headers, support for 404 errors in pages, support for CSS modules, improved fast refresh reliability and error recovery, improved CSS precedence handling, and improved compile time evaluation. Okay, so the next we have is Next.js cache. So when Next 13.2 introduced the Next.js cache, it was an evolution in the ISR, which is incremental server rendering. So, with the new updates, it unlocks progressive ISR at the component level, faster refreshes without network requests, faster redeploys, the code changes to static pages. If we talk about ISR, so ISR functions the same way it does now for completely static pages. What's new with Next.js cache is it provides a more granular, short-lived cache for the sites that have more minute data fetching and blending static and dynamic data. With this feature, we can now encapsulate static and dynamic data alongside their consuming components using the basic React server components and the collated data fetching in Next.js app router. We may now observe the same caching behavior in the Next.js dev as in production when we next start the while developing locally with our app router. So the most amazing thing about this is the cache is controlled by our app, not the third party API. This is distinct from cache control headers, in which upstream determines how long the item is cached. So I think we all learned something new and good about this latest update with Next 13.2. So if we go further, I would like to talk about React Wizard. So React Wizard is a community based out of GeekyAnts where we conduct various tech talks, workshops very frequently. And so if you guys are interested, please do follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter. On the end note, I would also like to congratulate our team here at GeekyAnts on officially becoming partners with Vercel. Uh, I would also like to introduce our amazing speakers today. We have Sadanand Pai from CoinDS DCX, who would like to talk about state management using Zest10 for React. Our own Darshan Poinkar from GeekyAnts, who would enlighten us with the future of layouts. Next, we have Rajat Pratap Singh from Demnish Apparel Private Limited, who would share with us his extensive knowledge of React Fiber. And lastly, we have Shreya Podial from Shakha Tech Information System, who would show us how React can be a game changer in today's tech world. And finally, the code of conduct. So don't use any hate speeches and inappropriate comments. Be respectful. This is a space of growth and learning, so please promote that and get to know your fellow mates. Thank you, guys.